Well, we are talking now in the eve of the 10th anniversary of NATO aggression against Serbia. It is really very important and significant not only for Serbia, for the Balkan, but for the system of international relations to mark this anniversary all over the world, to pay respects to a high number of human victims. About 4,000 people were killed during 78 days of continuous bombardment. About 10,000 people were wounded. 3/4 of all killed and wounded are civilians. But because the world should show to understand it was not a local conflict, local war, it was a testing of a global strategy threatening the system of the world relations. After the war against Yugoslavia, after the aggression in 1999, NATO has transformed itself into an aggressive alliance. Alliance which does not recognize any legal or any political limitations to its action. It was an experiment of the new NATO strategy to occupy countries or to change regimes, legitimate governments in any country which does not recognize American domination and which is trying to defend national and state interests of itself. They exploit national, religious, regional or political differences in various countries to weaken them and finally to destroy their sovereignty and territorial integrity. And they started with the aggression against Yugoslavia. As you know, there were negotiations in Rambouillet. In documents presented by United States or so-called representatives of international community, there were various provisions which indicate intentions of war. Actually, there was such a provision in Rambouillet that NATO troops should be allowed to stay, exercise, and be active all over Yugoslavia, in any part of Yugoslavia, without any limitations and without obligation to pay for any damage or for utilization of infrastructure, of roads, railways, and so on and so forth. There was a very interesting provision which can be checked in the text of Rambouillet document that NATO troops have a right in Serbia to imprison any citizen of Serbia which they suspect for any activity or reason not liked by NATO. And this provision reflects occupation objectives of NATO in Serbia. In international law, such provisions and such situations where citizens of foreign citizenship, like NATO soldiers, have higher rights, wider rights than citizens of a country, this institute is called system of occupation or system of capitulation. There was such a provision in Rambouillet to confiscate all magnetic spectrum of Serbia, what practically means to expropriate televisions, radio stations, radio channels of police, of army, or any other to suit their interests, without notification, without any compensation, etc. So NATO really has been in preparation of the war against Yugoslavia a long time, long before Račak, long before Rambouillet. Rambouillet and Račak were only to impress the public on the West and justify and hide imperial policy. For instance, we are now in front of radio television of Serbia. It was bombarded in the night of 23rd of April here in ruins of the headquarters, 16 technicians, personnel and journalists were killed that night. I think that secret services have their role today, but also that role of the past has been essentially changed. Instead of performing certain projects of changes or coup d'etat from the beginning to the end, I think secret services now maintain the role of coordinator. But the main job today is being prepared and done by so-called non-governmental organizations and non-governmental sectors. Before the aggression and after the NATO aggression, 1999, the West and primarily United States has poured a lot of money in so-called non-governmental organizations in Belgrade. To be clear, this one should recall that through the American Congress, it was approved about $120 million for so-called democratization of Serbia, democratization of media, etc., etc. But beyond this, about $350 million have been poured in through the non-governmental sector in Belgrade. And this was mainly focused on brainwashing of Serbian public, and to prove and to say that nothing before in Serbia, nothing in Serbian history was right, everything was wrong, and that everything in Serbia should be starting by October 2000. Economy is almost totally privatized and in the hands of international corporate capital. It was sold below the market or below any real price. There is no strategy of economic development. The whole energy of politicians is devoted to privatization, and instead of activating domestic, economic, human and technological, scientific resources, it is about a quarter of working people without unemployment. Some people really can afford only to buy elementary foodstuff. And this has been proved not only in Serbia, but in other Eastern European countries which had so-called colored revolutions. Serbian non-governmental organization Otpor has been involved, of course, first in Serbia in 2000 year, and then in Georgia and Ukraine. I understand there are reports that it is present even in Latin America, in Venezuela and other countries. We should be very cautious about the attempts to Balkanize Latin America, Asia, and other parts of the world. One American diplomat, Philip Goldberg, who was deeply involved in Yugoslav crisis and Kosovo problem. After that, with experiences gained in the Balkan, he was sent to be American ambassador in Bolivia. It is highly problematic to call any war humanitarian.